Oh, give me some time to blow the man down. All right, I'm here. How you doing? Hope everybody is doing well. Just getting set up. This is the pre-show. Let me plug in my headset into the back. Boom. There we go. What's red back there? Oh. Saw a flash of red go by, and I thought, what was that? Oh, that's what that was. So, ding dang, diggity dang, 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 bang, bang. Here we go. All right. At 3 minutes, I am hearing feedback. It's from that. Okay. So, we're just about ready to roll. I hope you are too. Let's get that going and that going and put that away and get that going. Now I think we're ready. Somewhat. 9:03, the stream takes over and we get rolling. Hey, Field Guy. Hey, Remeldian. Good to see you. And everybody else who's hanging out there who hasn't shown their face in the chat room yet, welcome. Glad that you're here. Let's get that too. Boom. There we go. Now I feel complete. I feel dressed now. There we have it. Hey, Matt Finn. Master Finn, good to see you. Glad you are here. And make sure everything's lined up all right. There we go. 2:19 right now. Well, 9:02:19. For counting seconds, which I am. Very close to starting on the radio station. Hey, Kelly Bell. Good to see you. All right, guys. We're awfully close to launching the show. We're going to go dark for just a few seconds, and then we'll be right back. So sit tight.
The Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Well, here I am. I'm glad I made it here, and I'm glad you made it here too. It is Friday. And you know what Friday is? Friday is Ghost Day. And we're going to open up the lines for people to call in with your ghostly tales, experiences, and perhaps tales out of history, wherever they come from. And but first, we're going to talk about some other things. And then we'll launch into here. I'm going to get it here now, so everybody knows how to get here. If you want to call in and talk about anything that pertains to a ghost story that you want to share with us, I prefer to hear things that have happened to you, things that you've experienced, and things that are your personal or anecdotal stories. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you got here tonight. Hey, everybody. I just want to say good evening to those who are here. Master Finn is here. Doug Stack, Grumpy Stack is here. Rudy Kessler is here. Field Guy is here. Remeldian, good to see you. Delaney Pearl Jones is in the room. Dave Potter, Uncle Dave is in the room. Good to see you. And Kelly Bell is here. Good to see you. And if there's anybody else I'm missing so far, we'll catch you as we go. And so, of course, you can always type your comments here. So, folks, welcome to the Intrepid radio program. If you are not listening but watching, you can go hear the audio of this show over on the radio station, and that is subspace.radio. You can go there and hear this show. And if you're just listening there, you can also come into one of the different places that we broadcast simulcast in video. And there's 4 of them over at Facebook and my page, Intrepid radio page, the Robertson page, and the Subspace radio page. And then you can come here to my YouTube channel, and that's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, please do while you're here. Subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notifications. And of course, the show is always no charge to anybody. You can come in and hear the show. But if you want to join the channel, you can do that by hitting the little join button below the window. And it'll give you 3 ways to join the channel. And that helps you put a little bit into, I know, in a day and age where everything costs something, don't you hate that? You join or you pay for cable TV? And this is old news, of course. You join cable or you join, individually, like the Netflixes or Amazon Prime or all of those. And you pay, anywhere from $11 to $17 a month to get those services. And then when you see a show you want to watch, most of the time you click on it and you also have to pay for the show. And it's like, why do I have to pay $21 to get this show for the season? So we found other places to watch. You can go to Discovery Plus, you can go to Peacock, you can go to places like that, and you can see most of your favorite shows that they show on cable. They might not all be commercial free. You got to pay for that. But we pay for Discovery Plus, and all the shows are free so far. So all I'm saying is that this show, in a day and age where you got to pay for everything, it seems, around the corner, we have not raised our prices. It's $1, $5, or $15 if you want to join this show as a member of this channel. And that's per month. And that just helps our cause here. It helps keep the show going. So let's see. On that note, an announcement to make, if you have not heard it yet. Beginning next week, this show is going to not 5 days, but 3 days a week. We're going to do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then I will also have Robertson at 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. Drive time, they call it. Afternoon drive time with Wendy Robertson. And so we'll still have 4 shows going next week, plus Sunday. It's Sunday. So I hope you will enjoy, and that we'll see you out for all of those. So officially no Intrepid Radio on Tuesdays and Thursdays starting next week for the time being. And so I appreciate the fact that you're here and that you're here all the time, all of you guys. It means a lot to me that you're here, and I think we've built a pretty good Intrepid family here. So welcome. And there's the first 8.5 minutes of our show. So let's move on into some other things. We're talking a little bit of ghosts tonight. And I was talking with somebody the other day, and I said, it's very interesting that when you see all these paranormal shows out there and paranormal radio shows and all of this stuff, is that the talk isn't really any different than it was years ago. We have a few pieces of equipment and things that we understand a little better, or at least we think we understand better. But the craft of ghost hunting hasn't changed that much. And ghost hunting, paranormal investigating, the things that you find. Now, have we defined it so well that we can present it to the general public? And there it is. There's a ghost. Well, no, we haven't. And the problem is that these are things that happen on a very personal level. You might get lots of people that have experiences, maybe even a lot of people in one place that have a lot of experiences of things that happen in that one house or building or wherever you might be. But still, ghost experiences all seem to be personal, of a personal nature. And I think you look at all down through history, the stories and the accounts of ghosts, it's all a personal thing. And I still don't think we know all that much more than we used to. But I think what a lot of people are striving to do is prove that it exists. And for those of you who've experienced it, or those of you who are people of faith, you already know this stuff exists. You don't have too many questions. And so when we come to having a show like this, we're really kind of regrinding the same old meat, so to speak. We're kicking it out there. We're showing you what we know, what the new stories might be that are out there. And that's why I open it up to your stories so we can discuss a little bit about what's going on there. Hey, David Castle, good to see you. Michelle Canham Free, good to see you as well. And Sarah Yusuf, Yosef, good to see you. And Sean Stroik is here. Good to see you as well, brother. Barbie D, good to see you. And of course, goes on and on. I think Steve Clark is here. I saw somebody say hi to Steve. So Paige Rockwell Soiree. I stammered there a little bit because I still don't know exactly how to pronounce it, even though she told me like 10 times. And I go, oh, okay, I got it now. Lock safe right here. Mind like a steel sieve. So, but Paige is here. That's all I meant to say there. And so welcome, everyone. Glad you made it in. And I want to take a look at 911. Oh, it's 9/11. There it is. It's 9/11 right now. In Central Standard Time here in Wisconsin, where incidentally, Michelle Canham Free lives in Cheesehead Land as well. And so I wanted to look for a few minutes at these shadow figures and the kinds of ghosts we get. But before I do that, I want to show you, maybe it's just in showing you the image for tonight's show. Okay, because that's one of the best places to see this picture. And so I'm going to bring it in to the background so you can take a look at it. Only because this is probably the biggest picture I have of it right now until I find out, you know when you move and you lose stuff? I've lost all the cords to my discs. So I can't find any of my files that are on my disk drives, my terabyte drives and all of that. Why, you may ask? Well, because I found the drives, but I can't find any of the plugs for them. The adapters. And so I'd either have to go out and buy new ones or see if I can find them as we continue to unpack all the little things. I'm glad I make you LOL, Paige. It's my goal in life. And so let's see. I'm gonna bring a file in here to show you. And it's just the graphic for tonight's show, but it's probably one of the better ones to be able to see. Let's see where it is. Gets a little lost in all my files. So there it is, I think. Fridays are ghost days, right? So I got to put in my, just a keyword, find my file. And it's moving awfully slow. So here, I'm going to just have to go in. I'm going to have to go in hard and then find it and dig it out because my, this is fascinating radio, scintillating radio, I'm sure. But let me find it here. Looking for the keyword for the graphic for tonight's show. Hang on to your butts. It's coming. And nothing. It shows me nothing. How can it show me nothing? I don't understand it. Okay. So hang on. It's the picture that I took at Portchester Castle. Let's give you a little bit of a lead in for it. I've shown the picture before, along with the picture of the actual wall of the castle, Portchester Castle, down in Portchester Harbor, Portsmouth Harbor. No, it's Portchester, where I can show you, where I show you an image that I picked up. So, in an orb of all things, and I know orbs are so dubious and highly dubious, and I even say they're dubious, but am I even on the right computer? Nothing looks right here. I just had a file that I saved, and for your sake, so I can show it to you. And guess what? It's showing up nowhere. Let's try this one. Let's see. Friday is Ghost Day is the name of the file. Let me put it in the right spot for you. Bang. We're doing this again, by the way. Shebang. There it is. Now we're going to see if we can find it. All of that buildup. Well, anyway, at Portchester Castle, we had been roaming around the walls at about 10 o'clock at night. And we were taking some pictures. And of course, there were lights everywhere. The castle walls are all lit up. There's no castle. You go inside the walls, and there's not really much to look at. It's a pretty empty compound as the castle is all gone. But the walls are still there, and it's buffeted by the ocean and the surf and the winds and the storms and everything comes in off the ocean. But it's right at Portsmouth Harbor. And so while we were there, we're looking up at the walls, and there's some windows that are all, crumbled out, and all you see through the upper windows are sky, the black sky behind it. And so while I'm talking, for some reason, I am not finding this file. It's not where I just resaved it and put it there so we could find it, and I'm not finding it. So if I don't find it, we aren't going to be able to look at it. I have no idea what just happened to it. So even though I've saved it over twice, let's see. Try that. Oh, there it is. Now it's there. Go figure. So that's loading up, and I'll show you the picture. And even though this is fascinating radio like this, I want to show you this picture because I think it's neat. Now, this is just the graphic for tonight's show. I'm going to add it to the stream, and I got to take off my my banners for you to be able to see this. There it is. Now, if you look up in the upper right-hand corner, yes, the upper right-hand corner, let's see, I'm getting messages from Dave Potter. Okay, I thought, is my mic not on? He knows I'm doing radio. So I can't read the messages right now, Dave. Sorry. I'm doing a radio show. And I think you're in the radio audience as well. But there is the file. Now take a look at that face. Do you see a face there? That face is a profile. And I caught this face. That's a photograph of it. It's mildly enhanced, just meaning it was light in some places. And for the sake of this graphic, I just darkened. I brought up the darker undertones a little bit so you could see what I was seeing there. Oh, images of Portchester, if you want to use them. Thank you. Are they PDFs? They have to be PDF files in order for me to bring them up in here. So if you can convert them to PDF files, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'd have to do it over here, and I'm doing the show. So, hey, Faceless Mao 5. Yeah, it looks kind of like a skull. And so what I'm seeing here, I don't think you can see. Now, you can't see the mouse as I'm directing it here. But if you look, what you're seeing is, of course, on the far right, his profile. Forehead down to a big nose. Nostrils, you see it go down to his lips. His mouth is slightly open, down to a chin, and even kind of a little bit of an under chin. But he's got a jawline that goes up to his ear. You see his cheekbone. You see his eye socket. You see white hair back here and bunched up a little bit in the back. And actually on the original of this, you can tell that he's got a little ringlet of hair, and he's bald right down the middle like a bowl. And also down below the head, you see what in the original photo looked like a big cowl collar, or it could have been a hood that you pull up, and when you pull them down, they have this big collar effect around you. And then it kind of fades off as you go down the image. And this is a picture that I took at Portchester Castle, and it was in an orb that when I saw the orb, again, I was highly dubious of orbs because they can be water on the lens, they can be falling water, they can be bugs, they can be dust in the air that your flash picture illuminates, and it makes it look like something up close to your lens when you're actually focused on something deep in the background. And so let me take a look at this here. I'm going to save this one now for you. And let's see, we're going to call it a PDF. And we're going to put this a place where I'm going to be able to find it really quick. All right. I'm going to save that and save that. And we're going to call this up over in the show here. So let me grab another photo for you. And it's the photo that is not the original. Well, it's the original, but it's small. So it makes it, it's not, way back, I took this picture in 2005. And for some reason, I created all these files as small 72 DPI shots for the internet because the internet couldn't handle all that gross imagery. And of course, now it can. So everything I do is in a much larger format these days. But having said that, I'm just uploading this now. So it might be a little small, might be a little fuzzy. And because I can't get into my discs, I can't access the heavy hitting stuff. Here you go. Now, this is really hard to see. But if you look at your screens, there are, and this is something the old monk of Portchester Castle I had written at the top. Image photographed at Portchester Castle, Portsmouth, England, March 5th, 2005. And the image on the left is a 16, maybe if I stop squinting, Matt Finn, and put on my glasses like you told me last night. The image on the left is a 1600% enlargement of the upper left orb in the black crumbled window that you see on the bottom picture. And I've actually got a little red square around this orb that I focused in on. And the image on the right at the top is a Photoshop overlay that I drew detailing the image to show you what the thing looks like, what I was seeing in that. And you can see what I mean by the collar. You can see what I mean by the cheekbone and the eye socket and the open mouth and the nose and the hair. And there's a little ringlet if you can't make it out there. And that's the wall I took a picture now of all the pictures I took at Portchester Castle that night. Not many, maybe 20 pictures. This was the only one that had orbs in it. And there are actually several throughout the shot. But this is the one I blew up and I went back to the hotel that room. It's pareidolia. It says Sarah Yusuf. Yeah, I know. I heard that 3,000 times since 2005 about this picture? Sure. That's why I dug through it and I wanted to say, is this pareidolia that I'm seeing? Or is there something else there? So I went into the other orbs and I blew up those shots. And I didn't see anything like this. They were all amorphous and nothing there. This was the one where I saw this image. And if you note at the image on the left, underneath the collar, it's fading off a little bit, almost like there's more there that's coming together. And so the next day was when we learned that this castle is supposed to have been haunted for centuries. I think 900 years, we heard, by an old monk. And then I got this particular shot. So if it's meant to be an image, it should be more three-dimensional and not cartoonish. Yeah, it should be. It's you'd think, but who controls that? The Spiritual Commission on Ghost Images that exists out in the ether somewhere. It looks like an imprint you'd see on a coin. Well, most pictures are two-dimensional. That's the thing. You do see in this a light source. It looks like there's a light source behind his head. It looks like there's more highlight on the cheekbones. Now, I hope you're not looking at the right-hand image. That's just an overlay I drew to show what I was seeing in this image. You see a cheekbone and a shadow, and all the structure of the face is there. So I tend to look at this picture and say, I don't think this is pareidolia. Yeah, the upper left is the actual, no, that's the actual picture, but all I've done to that, I have had enhanced that. This is actually the reverse of what it was. You know what might be an interesting little exercise here is to show you exactly what I did with this image. Let's see. I'm going to find this for you. And let's see, is it this one? There it is. Okay. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to share my screen with you. And this is, let's do it this way. Share screen. Boom. Boom. There we go. So I'm going to go over here, but I'm going to move this so I can still see the chat room a little bit. There we go. Let me pull that over to the far edge so I can open up my window as far as I'd like. There we go. Now I want you to see something here. This is not the original image. This is a smaller version of the image. The original is massive. It's like 53 inches by, 30 inches, something like that. And it's 300 DPI. It's a massive image. But that's locked away on one of my discs that I couldn't find any way to open today because I could not find the cords since moving. Now, let me blow this up. Here is the image itself at Portchester Castle. I'm going to blow this up a little bit more. Now, if you take a look at that broken out window, what do you got? You got a couple of orbs here. You got one down here. I think you can see my mouse in this one. And you got one here. Well, this is the one that gave me the image I'm showing you. And you're not going to see it well here because, look, you can already see what the resolution is doing here. So I did this a little earlier to kind of practice it. Let's see if we can take this image down to just cropping it around that orb. And I'm going to show you what I mean by enhancing this a bit. So I went down to here and to here. Just about like that. All right, now we got this little teeny tiny image here. So I'm going to take this little teeny tiny image, and up here in my controls, I'm going to change the size of this image. The image size, I'm going to make it 300 DPI, and we're going to give it a little bit of size, 5 by 5.3. Now, what I've done here is I've created an image. I've blown it up. No, 300 DPI is considered high resolution. 72 DPI is what it was originally when I put it up online. Now, that might be just too fuzzy to be able to do anything with. I thought I had done it on this particular image, and maybe I didn't. So, I'm going to try one other thing. I'm going to sharpen it just a little bit, and we're going to see if we can convert this. Well, this will at least give you an idea of what I did when I was working with it. Hang on. Come on now. Why is my computer dragging in Photoshop tonight? That's odd. There it goes. This is to just demonstrate a little bit of what I did when I first saw this image. Now, that's the same image right there. It's just from a smaller resolution. And so it is this is not the resolution I used when I originally did this. Well, one of the first things I did was I inverted it. So I'm going to invert this image. There. I have inverted the colors now, just going from one to the other. Now, it's still way too blurry to tell what was going on here. And if I just bring up the hue and the saturation of this, my Photoshop is running really slow. I don't know why. That should have just popped right up and done what I've commanded it to do. Very odd. Very odd indeed. Well, it doesn't seem to want to cooperate with me tonight. If StreamYard is StreamYard sharing my screen, it could be just simply, it does right now, Rudy, but it's not. Keep in mind, like I said, this is the resolution on this image right here is 10 times less than what the original photograph was. Let's see. I brought up the color just a little bit like that. Yeah, and there's not enough information here in this enlargement of this little tiny spot because, but you can see what we had here. We had the hair was back here, and it had the jawline, which you can barely see here now, and the eye socket and the cheekbone, and the nose was out here. But of course, you can't see that in this image because this image is too darn small to actually do anything with. I need to have a larger, so the demonstration kind of falls apart right there. I'm going to say don't save. That's something totally different right there. So let's get out of sharing the screen. So what I was going to try to do was give you a little demo on how I arrived at this image, this final image that you see right here. This is just a series of, I inverted the image and I sharpened it just a little bit to it sharpened the edges. And then I put a little embossing tool on it, which would give you a little relief of what you're seeing there. And this was the final image that came out of that. I didn't alter features. The eye socket was still the eye socket. The nose and the bridge of the nose was still the nose. The nostrils and the shadow under the nostrils were there. The mouth partly opened is still there. The chin is there. The line of the jaw running up to the ear is there. The cheekbone is there with a highlight on the upper portion of the cheek. The neck is there. The big cowl collar is there. The hair is there. And the little ringlet of hair is even there. So pareidolia, not so much. This had too many features that matches. And this is why I did the quick overlay drawing that you see on the right there, was to give you an idea of what was there, what was within the image. And I wish I could show you the original and do the demo, but apparently the photo I have is not big enough to show you the detail that shows up from the original photo. So Rudy says, I like how you're able to enhance the pics. Yeah, and there's enhancement, and it would be retouching, so to speak. I don't retouch these. I just enhance so you can see what's there, as opposed to creating something extra that I'm throwing into the picture and this is where the nose would be if there was a nose. I don't do any of that. So I wonder who that guy was, says Faceless. That guy might be the old monk that there are stories of that roam the castle ruins at Portchester. Might be, I say. We still don't know. I got a couple of percentage points of doubt on this photo. If that's pareidolia, that's pretty damn good pareidolia for something that exists there. And especially when all the features go together. When I stare at wallpaper and I see a face, it's usually very cartoony. It usually, you might see an eye that looks like an eye, but the rest of the face is like, and because you're looking at wallpaper designs, patterns and leaves and things. And this is just was something that was a white light against a black background. And so that's what came up with that. So sorry, Sarah, I don't see it as pareidolia. Pareidolia is the first thing that spews out of the mouth of the skeptic. Instead of saying, that's an interesting image, what have you done to check to see if it's pareidolia? And which is what we did. I took it through all kinds of different tests. One test, you can disagree. That's okay. But you came right out the chute with the criticism as opposed to asking a question. When you do that, you'll raise a little argument in me. I'll argue the point uh, because of the things I know I did to test it. So, which I'm trying to pass on to you. And I think most people have their doubts and their skepticism about things like this because it wasn't their image. They aren't the one that found it. They aren't the one that put it through the testing to see what it does. One of the tests I ran with this was I embossed the image and then using the middle of the cheekbone as a central point, I would change the lighting from all angles. And from all angles, the shadows that were being cast were consistent with a human skull, a human face, as opposed to, oh, but the light from this angle made it look like a basketball or a chewed on dog toy, which I didn't get. So I put it through a lot of those things. So you can agree to disagree, but you've had 5 minutes exposure to it, Sarah. I've had 15 years exposure to the image. So you can disagree from your 5 minutes of experience on seeing this image. No offense intended, but that's what and that's my normal reaction to skeptics who will offhandedly, in one brandish, dismiss something they've looked at for all of a minute of time. Oh, pareidolia, or that's fake. It's like, no, I've spent the time trying to see how to decipher whether or not it's a fake. And I'm not stumped by it. It is what I saw. So, so there's that. All right. That's one of the images I had. And I wanted to bring that up and show you that image. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about shadow people. But I want to get your calls too. It's now 9:37. I'm going to paste into the chat room. Boom. That's where you can call in with your ghost stories. Or if you want to talk about this image I just showed you, you can do that. Here's the graphic from tonight. You can see that right there is a little slightly cleaner version of that particular orb right there in the upper right-hand side of the graphic. So so you can take a look at that and you can see the features. Does he look cartoony? I don't know. Maybe over on the bridge of the nose. I cut this out and pasted it on here for this graphic. So you're not going to see the same contour outline as you do in the other image. If you look here, so you can see here, it's a little misshapen because I used it as a graphic as opposed to just keeping the whole thing there. So let's see. Whose turn tonight? Says Sean Stroik. Who wants to come in and tell us your ghost story? I'm going to go on and I'll talk for a little bit until Sarah says I was never good with magic eye pictures in school. Yeah, me either. But I did see, I had my nose stuck in the corner so many times when I was a kid that I did learn how to see patterns in wallpaper. Hey, Romeldian, how you doing?
I am well.
All right, fantastic. What's going on with you tonight?
I am doing well. I just remember my first time dealing with spirits, and it kind of confused me because my church never really got into that.
Mm-hmm.
So when my dad died 11 years ago, I didn't know who I was hearing. All I did, I went to bed like I normally do. I did my same routine because we have those habits. So I go into my dad's room, tell him good night, and I hear his voice saying "I love you," and I turn around wondering if anybody else heard it, and everybody else went to bed after that night because everybody was so worn out. It was just I didn't know what to think, and I wasn't really aware of that stuff. Because I thought it was either a one-way ticket down or a one-way ticket up. I didn't know anything about the in-between stuff, or I just wasn't at that level. until I walked away from that faith.
Well, when we have our religious, if you could turn down your sound, I'm picking up a little bit of your. Otherwise, I'll have to mute your mic while I'm talking. When we have our religious dogmas, no matter what faith you are a part of, but you have a religious dogma there, then of course you're going to have. Here, I gotta mute your mic because it's that's throwing me just a little bit. You're gonna have those things dictate the way you think about what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're experiencing, and all of that. So, when you heard your dad's voice, what kicks in? What you've been taught in the particular church you went in, the particular religion you were part of. It's telling you that this is what you're supposed to believe about these things. And many times we found out, like I did, I found out there are things that are very different than what I was taught. And so that's how you have to start deciphering. It's almost like you don't have to leave your faith, but you have to step outside, at least put one foot outside the box so you can look back in and say, how can I decipher what I'm seeing? What kind of sense does this make to me? Does that make sense to you?
Yep. I kept some of the teaching that I liked about the faith, and I just got rid of the rest that didn't resonate.
Sure.
The second time it happened, I was at work, and it was just me and my director in our kitchen, and we work at a nursing home, so nursing home will probably be a place for hauntings, especially with some of them don't like being there, you know?
Yeah.
And I was about to go on break, and all of a sudden, one of our kitchen pans just went flying through the room.
Ah.
And it was just me and my director there, and the stove wasn't even turned on.
Well,
and we
I've
were both
seen weird
like,
things like that happen too.
apparently somebody doesn't like us here.
Or just trying to get your attention. It might be that as well.
That too.
And on that topic of picking and choosing the things that you like out of a particular religion, I find that a little dangerous with the way that people go about doing things, because if I'm going to take a holy book and say, well, I believe this part, but I don't believe that part, what gives efficacy to the part you believe, and while at the same time, concurrently, there are things you don't believe in that book. You go, oh, I can buy that. I can buy God saying that there, or this guy's saying that about God, but I can't buy this guy's teaching over here. I can't buy that part of God. And so, we wrestle with those attributes. And, or I'm sorry, attributes is not the word I was looking for, those different aspects of our faith. And so I think it's a tough call when you say, I believe this part of the faith, but I don't believe this part of the faith. That's a tough one. Now, you can believe, like I do, I tend to not believe all the faith issues in the biblical text, but I believe that the events took place. I believe there's historical efficacy, and I believe there's lessons to be learned. So that's the kind of thing I look at. Anyway, I just wanted to comment on that. Well, thanks, Romeldian.
Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate your story,
I don't
brother.
do that anymore. That was my younger self. I learned the hard way on why I shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Be nitpicky.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It got me into a whole lot of trouble.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Lessons to be learned, I guess. I was just wondering if you had any experiences like that before.
Brother. All right. Sarah Yusuf is here. Sarah Yusuf, how you doing?
Hey, Scotty.
Hey. What's shaking?
Too much. Too much.
Yeah.
We're not in the right places, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming for us all. So, I mean, I just wanted to, talk to Romeldian for a second and just put my 2 cents in that.
Yeah.
He was talking about the experience he had, hearing his dad's voice, which, religion sort of, as a general rule, dictates, it has a certain way of leading people into a certain direction to avoid, people going out and experimenting in different directions, which, may or may not get them into trouble. It's like they'll say,
Sure.
Don't summon up a demon, or if they try to control a demon,
Right.
or you have people who are doing everything. But I mean, as far as the experience that he had, I mean, when it applies to religion, or I've talked to different people who are religious, who've had similar types of experiences. The most that, as from my understanding, that they could get out of it is you take it at face value on
Yes.
have the event and what its effect on you, which I'm sure, hearing his dad saying he loves him, that's a very positive experience. So
Very powerful.
yeah, powerful and positive experience. We're trying to give comfort to someone who may be,
But of course,
in a dark place.
But then of course there's a skeptical mind might come in and say, in the first 5 minutes, they might say, you know what? That's a psychological thing. You loved your dad. It was in your mind. You were thinking about your dad. You miss your dad. There was all this. And so your mind created a voice that you could hear.
And that may be true. But I mean, if it is true, there's no harm, no foul. Right.
Right.
I mean, the outcome either way is still positive. It's therapeutic.
Right.
So
it's therapeutic. And this is, I think that is brain therapy. If I was to take the spiritual element out of it altogether, I'd say that's your brain healing you. Yeah. That's your brain doing things for you to help calm you. I think the brain is capable of a lot of things we don't give it credit for.
Yeah, I mean, our brain is constantly trying to help us. Where we as human beings have that whole entire realm of unconscious and dreaming and all that stuff to help process,
right.
Because we're constantly bombarded, not just by the things we sense, by different types of energy. The things we sense are sensory perception, physical perception. It's all very a narrow band in the world of, energy and stimulus that's really out there. I mean, we're constantly bombarded by radio waves, or, it's not like we feel them. But the other thing about, cherry picking it, and you were right that you're absolutely, it's very not, sometimes it can be dangerous that cherry picking certain things from certain religions, because things are set up in a certain way. We may not understand the reasoning behind it,
right?
But there are safety mechanisms in place, to keep us safe.
I think in Christianity we have what we call systematic theology.
Sure.
So it's a theology built on a system.
Right.
It's not just cherry picked and little things put together. Exactly.
Right. Like in Islam, we had the concept of wuzu, the cleansing before you do prayers. That existed thousands of years before we had germ theory. Of understanding germ theory. So, it's sort of like a mechanism in place for protection and stuff. So, but when we cherry pick, we take something from this religion or that religion, it has to be done exceedingly carefully, which, some people may do or not realize, inadvertently not realize what it is, or the what and the why things are the way they are.
Right.
As far.
Hey, Terry Pitts. Good to see you, brother. You just came into the chat room. Sure. Welcome to the Intrepid radio program. There's Terry Pitts. Just going to show his little, hey, good to see you, brother. Glad you're here. Hey, Faceless Mao, I see you over in the wings out there. Give me a wave on camera. Hey, there he is. I'm going to bring you in. How you doing, brother?
Good.
Sarah, you can stick around.
Yeah, okay.
So what's going on, man?
Yeah, I had some ghost stories to tell, and I wanted to come up and tell them.
Give me a good one.
Yeah, well, like I said, when I was little, my cousin had gave me some pocket knives, and being little, I was playing around with them, and my grandmother took them and said I could have them on my 18th birthday. Well, she passed away before she could tell where they were. And when I turned 18, they just suddenly showed up as she promised. It was like real
Interesting.
mysterious. Yeah. And then the other one I have is I never knew my grandfather because he passed away before I was born. But I saw him in dreams, got to know him, and I asked my mom if I said, did he like pocket watches? And she said, yeah. How did you know that? And his watch that he had that hadn't worked since he passed away started working again.
Wow.
I had kind of the opposite of that. A few weeks ago, I talked about things that have not shown up, but things that have disappeared. And we had, and for those of you in the chat room, most of you have heard this story already, but I'll refresh. And if you haven't heard it, be patient with me. But I had an old Ouija board, not one that I had ever used. I picked it up because it was an antique, and I thought, oh, I'm going to buy this. I found it at a thrift store. And it sits out in my garage. It's been in the garage for years, unused. And then one morning, I went outside and I see the Ouija board in its box out in the middle of the yard, laying face down. And I thought, now who did that? Somebody carried that outside. One of my kids carried it out to play with, and I questioned everybody. I said, anybody take that Ouija board outside? No, they didn't. My kids didn't even know what I was talking about. Randy said, no, I didn't. And so, but within that same 24-hour period, I also, a ring went missing that I wear on this hand. It was my Saint Benedictine, or Saint Benedict's ring. And it was basically a blessing against the evil. It's a protection. It was a thing of protection. And I wore it a little lightly. I put a little bit of faith in the concept of protection and having things of protection. But so that disappeared. And the same day, my set of car keys disappeared. Those two things disappeared after I found that Ouija board that way. And they have not been found since in this house. Just gone. Absolutely gone. And I even remember the last time I saw the ring. I took it off to wash my hands that day and have not seen it since. I checked. The sink drains were not big enough to swallow it up. So either somebody knocked it into a garbage can or picked it up with something else and put it, and it's in a box somewhere that I'll never know until 50 years from now, should I live so long. And the same with my car keys, both gone. So can I chalk that up to spiritual doings, like your grandma perhaps showing you something that was meant for you when you were supposed to find it? The opposite of that happened to me. Did somebody move my things? Or will they be found ever again? I don't know. So it's all interesting spirit activity. So Faceless, do you do any ghost investigating or anything like that?
No, but I have a cousin that does.
Have you ever gone with him?
No, but I watched a lot of his videos on YouTube.
Yeah? Good stuff?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
He goes to a lot of these old cemeteries and stuff like
Yep.
that.
Yeah. I've done that too. I got one EVP at a cemetery years ago. Rainey and I don't know if we were even married yet. It was way at the beginning. We went on a ghost investigation with some friends of ours. We were at an old cemetery in Red Wing, Minnesota. And we were at a place where there was the old grave markers, the old part of the cemetery. And we got one EVP out there. We listened back to it as we were asking questions, is anybody here? And and all the typical questions. And we got an initial response when I said, is anybody around that would like to talk to us? And the voice came back and said, I'm in the ground now. It was a woman's voice. I'm in the ground now. And we're like, whoa, okay. Wow. Interesting. So, all right, Faceless. Well, thanks for your story, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad you come out to the show, and I do appreciate it, brother.
Yeah.
All right. You have a good night. All right, guys. Anybody else want to call in? You can call in. Sarah, what do you think? What's on your mind? Have you personally had any ghost experiences that you haven't shared with us?
Well, I mean, as a reminder, I think we have 3 minutes left before we have to switch, right?
Oh, yep, we
Yeah.
do.
So
How about that? So we can save it for the captain's cabin.
sure.
We have what? I have to get out of here in about exactly 1 minute, I do believe it is. So, well, let's see. No, we end at 9:58 is when our stream drops. So at 9:57:32, I click the button for the exit. So we're at 55
Yeah, I got 9
and 55.
So
So it's coming. End of the show's coming. So we can talk to it, talk about it a little bit into the captain's cabin.
sure.
So
All right, just get your people lined up. I'm talking to everybody in the chat room. You got
right on.
stories. Yeah.
Right on. So everybody that's in there, make sure you come on in during the captain's cabin and give us a call, and we'll put you on, just like you saw our recent guests that came in, and we can talk about this stuff. Terry Pitts, you can come in. It'd be kind of fun to have you come in and tell some stories. Rudy Kessler, same with you, brother. So now let's see. Since I had to redo everything, and I had to change all my ins and outs because YouTube was trying to hit me with copyright violations because an ad I've been playing on my show for 7 years has music in the background that's copyrighted. So if you can make out the music that's being played beneath the voice of my wife, who is voicing the ad, good luck identifying it and hitting me with a copyright claim there. So their machinery picked it up. Their software picked it up, I should say. Faces has got to say the unexplained is a neat thing to experience. Ain't that the truth, brother? I agree with you right there. All right, we're getting ready to get out of here. So everybody on the radio, I want to thank you for giving me your time. And here we go. We're going to get out of here now, and we'll see you back here for the captain's cabin.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid radio program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
And just like that, we're back. So here, let's just play this just for fun. Let's get it rolling. Army hearties, welcome to the captain's cabin. Good to have you. Those of you who have stayed on since the radio show, glad to have you here. And I have to say something, Sarah. I appreciate your being here, but I think that you are happy this probably happened during the break. I got a quick flash of your cam.
Oh,
and
that's weird.
you must have hit a button or something. Maybe you didn't want me to know that, or if I knew it, to maybe shut up about it, because I know you don't like to turn on your webcam. But I just want to report to folks that from what I saw in that brief flash,
Not a ghost.
I wasn't even looking at it. I was looking over here, so I just caught it, and I thought, what was that? And then it was gone. I saw what looked like a raven-haired beauty, just this the black hair, and it looked like it had curl to it, and it was just like up and over, if I saw that right. And I saw most of your face, but for not more than a fraction of a second. So I couldn't tell you much about it. But so there, I've got in my head a partial small image of what you look like, Sarah.
Well,
And,
maybe it's a paradoric experience.
Yeah. Maybe it was pareidolia. I it was just a design. It was a pattern.
Right.
So it was nice
I had
to
to
see
tie
you.
it back.
Nice to see you. Beautiful hair, beautiful face from what I could see. And I say that without those being the most important things at all, but an interesting thing nonetheless. So there you go, folks. I can brag to the rest of the people in this chat room and who listen to this show.
Oh, good Lord. Don't start that now.
That I have seen Sarah Youssef for a brief split twinkling of an eye second. And so there you go. All right, everybody. What do y'all got? Here we are in the captain's cabin. It's where we let our hair down and we talk a little bit more. But I think we opened up when we do Friday night open call for ghost stories. It's more to get you guys to call in and share your stories and so on. But I posted the link in again if you want to come in here and talk a bit. And Dave Potter says, I never doubted that she's as beautiful as her voice and personality. Yeah, I got to tell you, Sarah, you've got a wonderful voice, a wonderful presence on air, and a great personality. So we gotta figure something. It would be incongruent for you to come across as like a man. I'm pretty confident you're not a man. So
Okay.
there you go. Oh, she said that like, okay, got you duped, don't I? How you doing?
Right.
So, all right. And we're guys. So somebody told me this morning on Kenny's show, Ken Ballos, morning coffee with KB, every morning at 8:00 Central Time, 9:00 Eastern Time. And I always call into the show. It's not my show at all, but I call in and I get to talk and spew my guts and what I'm thinking. And Wendy was on there this morning, Wendy Robertson.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so when I went out and I looked, I go, oh, it's Wendy. I should, hey, Sterling, how you doing? Have you been over in the chat room? Nothing in the chat room? Okay. I don't know who you are, and I generally don't bring people in, but you've kind of responded to me here. I'll warn you right away. I'll yank you if you're not legit. No, he's going like this, folks. All right, let's see what we got. Hey, Sterling, we'll give you the test here. Are you sitting?
Thanks, man.
You sitting in a closet or a bathroom?
Oh no, I'm sitting in what's going to be my man cave eventually.
Oh, right on.
It's good acoustics.
Yeah, the acoustics are either lavatory or man cave.
Well, I hope they're good. Actually, I just got these headphones yesterday, so I hope you can hear me okay.
Right, I can hear you well.
Great. Yeah.
Cheers. Well, yeah, no, don't worry. I'll keep my clothes on. Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah, trust me, it is. But yeah, no, I just saw the link and clicked it, and yeah, I just wanted to join. Thanks for having me.
Hey, I'm glad you came in. Good to have you. Welcome to a whole chat room full of Intrepid heads. And so I'm glad you saw the link and you popped in. We do Fridays as ghost days and just kind of open up the mics a little bit for people to call in if they want to talk a little bit about their experiences. So
about ghosts, you said?
Yep. Fridays in particular.
Friday's usually paranormal night. So.
Oh man, I've always been a fan of the paranormal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what started it. Just being curious, and maybe it was the X-Files. I watched every episode of that.
Yeah, baby. I watched every episode of the X-Files. We used to have a ritual.
Yeah.
When they were on Fridays, and then they moved it to Sundays. Mm-hmm. But when it was on Fridays, a buddy of mine would come over that I worked with, and we would, he'd usually spend the night on Friday nights, but we'd all order pizza and we'd watch the X-Files. So it was a
Classic.
ritual.
Classic.
Yes.
I wanted to be Fox Mulder.
Oh man.
Like to be
And
him.
you still can be, Sterling. I'm just going to tell you, you can be whatever you want to be.
Thank you, Scotty and Sarah. Cheers.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
But you know, I guess if anyone's interested in my opinion, which
Yeah, I am.
shouldn't be, but later, like I realized as a child and even adolescent, a young man that I found myself believing in a lot of things,
Mhm.
and then I came to a point where I started doubting things and doubting everything actually, and so what was hard for me was to come to terms with the fact that I wanted to believe in this, that, and the other ghost, or really
Sure.
aliens and UFOs and Bigfoot. Oh man,
Oh yeah.
Bigfoot. But and some of those things I probably did believe in, or I would have told you I did. But then I just started re-examining everything and found out that I didn't really have good reasons to believe in those things. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Did
You
that
know, and go
did
ahead,
that
Sarah. I'm
happen
sorry.
while you were entering into your teenage 20s, that age range, or was it earlier
Yeah.
or later?
No, you're spot on. I was
Yeah.
probably like 18 or 19 and, had just kind of left my parents' house. And my
Right.
parents were
Mhm.
very strict, very religious, Southern Baptist. We're from
Oh.
we're from the South. I'm sure you can tell with my accent.
Your
Mildly.
accent isn't that strong because I'm from the South too. So
I try to turn it off when I'm on YouTube, but if it was just me and you, Sarah, you would hear it more.
yeah.
I'm from the
But
north,
anyway.
So
That sounds
don't
like
you know?
Canadian North.
Yeah, almost Canadian.
Classic.
Minneapolis,
Where
St.
the
Paul area, the outreach. I'm across the border into Wisconsin, but yeah, we're close enough. So
Cheers. Yeah, I guess my final thought would be like, I just kind of came to terms with the fact that I'm okay. Oh, I think the better position is to not believe until you've seen evidence, and once something has been demonstrated to you, then you're justified in that
Yeah.
belief. But at the same time, maybe if I had a personal experience with a ghost, like I imagine if it was very convincing, you probably couldn't tell me ish. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, yeah, how could you argue with someone?
Well, it's like the X-Files, the X-Files tagline. I want to believe.
I want to
Those
believe,
who want
yeah.
to believe will find what they want to believe.
And I'll tell you something, Sterling. Many years ago, I was in Bible college, and then I went on to theological seminary. I was in ministry for a long time, and I stepped away from that because I had questions, big questions I couldn't answer. And so I'm not promoting the step away from what your faith tells you to do. Just that I was in a very similar setting. It was Northern, it wasn't Southern Baptist. I was in very conservative fundamentalist Baptist schooling and seminary and churches and so on. Then I went to evangelical free, and then I drifted off from that altogether. I kind of stepped away for a long time. And but some of it was some of the things that I was beginning to research and understand a little better, and saying that does not seem to fit with what I was taught. And so sometimes you got to go through that. You got to take it. You got to put a foot outside the circle and look back in and say, is this working? Does this make sense? Yeah, everybody tells you you're supposed to believe by faith and faith alone. And I say, well, these are pretty important issues if God's just leaving it to my faith with no proof to believe in it. That's what kind of set me taking steps away. And I certainly don't want to discourage you from any faith you might have. But sometimes looking into these things, it starts to open up. Either it's one of two things. It's telling me the universe is a much bigger place than I was taught, or it's all true and it's just lies of Satan and his demons. Those are the two the two possibilities I had that I was left with. So I encourage you to keep your seeking, keep looking, keep seeing where you want to be. This show, since this is your first time here, we deal with all of this kind of stuff, and we talk about this stuff quite a bit. And
Okay.
So it might be something. If you want to listen, you might be able to hopefully contribute a little bit or catch something that works for you.
Well, I'll be glad to listen. I definitely will like and subscribe. But I do have a question for you, and this might be
Yeah.
amateur for you guys if y'all talk about this sort of thing. It might be like elementary or stupid, but okay.
Nah,
So
There's no
here's
such
one that
thing as stupid questions.
no such thing.
you haven't heard Sterling's questions yet.
Uh-oh.
No. But like, here's one I like to do. I like to do this, and we can take it as far as you want. But first, I like to put these in order. Ghosts, since you mentioned it, uh, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever, and then aliens,
Aliens.
extraterrestrials. Put them in order, like most real to the least real in both of y'all's minds. I'm
Oh,
curious.
so, I'll go
You-
first,
Yeah,
unless
go.
Sarah, you want to. Ladies
No, you
first.
can.
I would say every one of those things I say is real. I would add to the list for effect fairies. It's like, do you believe fairies exist? People would ask me. I go, yeah, I do. And they'd say, oh, that's kind of goofy. And I said, well, what kind of fairy are you talking about? Are you talking about Tinkerbell and Disney and fantasy storybook fairies? Or are you talking about the Fae of Celtic mythology that goes back thousands of years and it's a very different kind of being? I said, I believe they existed. And so the same with ghosts. I've seen, heard. I used to say, and I still do, I got to see it, touch it, taste it, feel it, handle it, converse with it to believe it. And I've had all those things happen to me in the ghost realm. Bigfoot, I have not seen yet, but I know very good people, very good, credible people in that field of research that insist that it's real. I've even got, where is he? I don't know what I did with him. My Bigfoot.
Well,
What? I put him somewhere. I got a big casting of a Bigfoot foot.
oh, did you get that
somebody
cleaned
gave
up
me.
after you got paint on it?
No, I haven't tried yet. It's sitting around here somewhere. That's kind of odd that I don't see it anywhere in sight. I put it somewhere. Oh, it's way over there, up on the shelves over there. So we just moved. So Sterling, so it's a little disorganized around here. But all of those things, I believe in them. Ghosts, aliens. I've written books on this stuff. That doesn't prove anything. It just says to me that I think we live in a universe that is awfully big and broad. And if we start putting walls up because we've built up so much mythology or so much storybooking around these things that they don't make sense anymore, I think we're missing the point that the things really do exist and there are good people that experience them. And it's not always something that you get mass reactions to. It's individuals and all the individuals that have had it. So
If I had to hold your feet to the fire,
yeah.
and I hear you say that you believe in all three. But very quickly, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot, because I got to go to bed soon.
Sure.
Like they're all real in your mind, but tell me, is there like which one is the most real to the least real? If you had to put them in order, I'll try it one more.
If I had to put them in order, first of all, I believe they're all real, but I would say probably ghosts because of experience, personal experience.
Number one.
I would say Bigfoot because it's earthbound. It's something that there's so much evidence out there that is not evidence, but is evidence that you almost cannot dismiss it anymore. Aliens, it's almost got that same feel as Bigfoot, except I've never seen an alien. So I'd put alien at number 3. And but having said that, I think they all exist. So
I want to come back to that, but first, Sarah, what would you say if you don't mind, Scotty, me asking
no,
her?
perfect.
I'm not trying to be the host, but like, what would
you be the host? This is the Sterling show.
No, it's not. Sorry, I'm sorry.
So for me, it's hard to classify them because they are their own. They're in their own, in my mind, their own section. You know, you have but they all could be put under the umbrella of potentially of interdimensional beings, such ghosts, Bigfoot in the cryptozoological world, the terrestrial interdimensional beings, and then aliens. And for me, I mean, aliens, we are just a speck in the massive growing universe. It would be arrogant to say there's no other intelligent life out
Right.
there.
So you're saying, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Are you saying aliens number one?
No, but for me, I mean, from personal experience, I would say ghosts, spirits, demons, that would be number one for me. Yeah, but it's just a matter of classification and us having to figure out how to interact with interdimensional beings that seem to exist, that we're able to see flashes of you know, certain people who resonate at certain frequencies are able to interact with, and with that. So I would say maybe, I would probably go ghosts, aliens, then Bigfoot, because I'm not the type to go out at late at night in the woods, you know, in the cold and everything. If Bigfoot's in like a 3-star hotel, I'll investigate.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll meet you at the pool.
Hot water.
Yeah.
Hot water.
Bigfoot happens by the pool and the cabana bowl. We're good. So.
Okay, so now Sarah, just to clarify, now he said
while you talk, I'll be right back. I can still hear you.
All right, thank you. He said he believed in all three. He gave me the order. You gave me your order. Would you say that you believe in all three as being true, or?
I mean, most of the evidence that I have seen has always been, you know, like a second or third person. It's anecdotal, so it's difficult for me to say that I believe it, because I haven't really had those types of experiences as much as, you know, Scotty's had more experiences than I have.
A few more. So
you got you got some dermal ridges in there, or what?
Yeah, there's some dermal ridges in this one. It almost comes across fake, but this is a casting of a casting of. It wasn't. I thought it was the footprint from the Patterson-Gimlin film, the very famous California film from the 60s. But this is from a different site, and I can't remember which. I was going to write it on the back. So this is a casting of a casting.
The Patterson-Gimlin film? That was debunked, wasn't it?
No. They tried to debunk it.
Some people claim they have.
I think that there's been so much debunking of the debunking that there's some pretty good videos out there, documentaries done on that, Sarah, and some very good people behind them that I don't think you can debunk it once they stabilized the film and they were able to they actually got copies of the original film and were able to, from the family, and were able to do some stuff on it. And they go through all the scientific rebuilding of the shape and looking at the aperture that would be there, how this could not be a costume, and all of that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You've got a pretty good, solid debunk of the Patterson-Gimlin film. So,
well, I mean, even with my my views on debunking, even if you say you try to debunk you know, a ghost or anything, just because it's debunked doesn't mean it's not true and it's not you know, divinely inspired, you know. So just because you have an alternative explanation is no reason to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Right. So I mean, it's just, you know, and we as people, you know, we choose what we give and take and what we choose to, you know, accept as true. So
yes.
Is it possible that, Sarah, you could choose to accept that, or you could believe, in other words, that you are a blue rhinoceros?
Sure.
Talk about identifying as.
Yeah.
I identify as a dog, therefore I can pee on a fire hydrant.
But I'm saying, like, and hear me out, because it sounded like what you said is that, you know, we kind of choose our beliefs, and I would like to push back on that respectfully and say that to me, I don't choose what I believe. Like, either I'm convinced that it's true for good reasons or bad or whatever, or I'm not. I would like to think they're good reasons, of course, but like for example, if belief was a choice, then right now I could choose to believe that I am a blue rhinoceros, right? But I know that I'm not, so I would never
Right.
actually believe it, right?
Right.
See my point?
I
Well, I
do.
mean, in the Greek philosophy, there's in Plato there they talk about the terms of essences or s of the essence of something versus the s, which also builds out the constructs of the thing. So you can have uh, an acorn. An acorn is an s of a has an s of an oak tree. So I mean, an acorn can become into an oak tree. So instead of at a certain point, it has that thing to build within. Well, but in terms of belief, I mean, for my personal belief, I believe everything positive, negative that happens comes from God. So we have all sorts of different types of people doing different things, and we're all in this cosmic clockwork of history So as far as believe, whether you choose to believe or not, in a way it's not irrelevant, but I mean what you choose to believe also guides your actions, right? And how you view the world, how you see the world, how you're going to interact with that world. So I mean, yeah. So
I used to say I would use this example. Let me find something that would work for this. Something of a solid color is all I'm looking for here. All right. I would say this little plug-in unit, this is black, and this is my belief. Now, and this is an argument I would use when we were talking about perceptions of reality and perceptions of what is or is not truth. People would say, you believe that because you perceive that is the truth for you. I said, okay, I can understand that. I can understand where you're coming from. But if I say this little block is black and you tell me it's pink, I said, because you perceive it's pink. Does my belief or perception that it's black, or in your perception that it's pink, alter the actual physical state of the block itself? It doesn't.
No.
My perception, therefore, doesn't make the truth of what the color is. It's got its own color. My perception of it might guide the way I believe and the way I repeat. I saw this pink block the other day, and that might guide the way I do things, but at the same time, it doesn't change the thing. And so I would say, when I use that in an argument in faith and religion, I'd say you might perceive God as being different, or an angel, or whatever. Take whatever element of faith you want to take. You might perceive that it means something different than it does, because that is the way you perceive it. But does perception alter reality? No. It might alter your reality in the fact that you're going to act on your perception. But perception is not truth. Perception is perception. And so that's the argument I use in all of that. And maybe not very well articulated right now, but
even if
hopefully you get my point.
Yeah, even though that block you were bringing up, instead of saying it was pink, you could have said it's onyx, or it's obsidian.
Onyx. Oh, well, right.
Obsidian.
Right.
So I mean, there's always shades of gray.
Right.
Or
but then I would say, if you said it was onyx, I'd say, well, let's test the properties of this. Is this plastic or is it onyx? And so you test the properties. Even in the Bible,
color?
Doesn't God say, try the spirits to see what they are all about? Test them, put them to the test. So, Sterling, you were saying.
And then sometimes it tells you, thou shalt not test. But yeah. But that aside, even with the color, someone says it's black, someone says it's pink. I would say, yeah, neither of those prove the truth, because there's only one reality, and
That's
you can have yours, she can have hers, but how well does yours or hers identify with the one actual reality that we all must agree exists, because it is a color, whether it's black or pink or neither. So what you could do is perhaps maybe take it to Lowe's or Home Depot and go to the paint section and say, "Hey, look, I want to get a gallon of this color." And you hand them the charger or whatever it was you had, and they put it in the machine, and they tell you exactly
Right.
what it is. So at that point, what someone perceives it as, to me, isn't important. What's
Right.
important is how well does it conform to what's true.
But
There it
isn't
is.
your reality based on the observer? So if it's based off of the observer, then everybody has different realities. I mean, I've come across people who I think are in completely different other realities of thinking. You know, it's that ability between, say, person to person. Like you said, you go to Lowe's or whatever store and
Sure.
get it tested, color tested. So, but you're sharing the same. You're sharing the same concepts that whatever they say, that's what it is, as opposed to, like say if somebody was colorblind, if you call it instead said it's not black, it's the absence of light. Like when we talk about earlier about shadow people. Some people consider shadow people some form of interdimensional beings that's like a cat under a blanket. We see the lump moving around under the blanket, but we
Sure.
can't see beyond the veil of what's actually there. But that's going to be also based on the matter of what the reality of the other person is interacting with our reality.
Let me
Just as,
jump in. I'm sorry. Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Finish that thought. No, finish that thought. You were on something.
No, I mean, I was just going to make another point where we had that what's his name? I keep forgetting his name. The ghost box guy you had earlier this month.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mark
Mark.
Coltis.
Yeah, Mark
from
Coltis.
London.
So, in terms of EVPs, like Scotty has collected quite a few EVPs. Mark said that EVPs are carried on carrier waves of sound that are from that we interact with in our reality. Not just our reality, our band in our hearing bands that we are able to hear. So, as far as if someone is saying something on the other side that we are seeing it, that's their reality of what they think we're hearing versus what we are hearing over there is different.
Right.
And I would jump in right there and just quickly say that yes, I can see that we all have our own version of reality, but we all must agree at the same time that there is only one true reality, and how well you perceive reality, how in touch you are with reality, is how well what you perceive reality as relates and conforms to what is reality. And the question becomes, well, how do you know what is? Because and Home Depot has this other opinion of what is the color. But here's what I would say to you is that I don't trust Lowe's, I don't trust Home Depot. The thing that I like about this example is that you can go there and yeah, they have a machine that does it, but they also can tell you exactly how to make said color. They can say add this
Right.
much gray, this much black, and then add a hint of little blue shadow, whatever it is, and you can test it for yourself. So I just want to make sure my position is represented properly and with all due respect, and to say that
Yeah.
I don't just take it from the experts, but what I do like in an expert and what I do find compelling is when they say, hey, you don't believe me, here's my
Right.
methods, here's how you do it.
Put it to the test.
If you don't think it's orange, then get some of this red and get some of this yellow and mix that shit together.
Yep.
So the only way we're going to know reality is if we gain godlike powers.
I don't think it takes godlike powers to mix red and yellow.
But I mean, I'm saying in understanding reality goes from that, and I mean, we could build, if we could have the technology to build atoms up from energy, subatomic particles, to build the atoms, build the elements, build the compounds, et cetera, then we would have an understanding of how the physical world works.
And I see exactly what Sarah's saying there. The red, mixing the red and the yellow is not godlike powers, but in comparison and context here, that's the godlike power. It's you have the ability to do that, but it's relatively easy to mix red and yellow to get your result. Is it easy to create a universe? Probably a little more difficult, a few more steps in deciphering
Well,
it. But
I would go ahead.
I was just going to say, Colin Braniff over in the chat room said belief is for the ignorant. And I'm not that hard nosed about belief, but I think belief is different from fact. Belief is
Well,
something I choose to believe something, as opposed to just accepting it at its face value.
Belief,
It's fact.
imagination, and inspiration. All of the the great giant scientists of the day, Galileo, let's see, my mind is blanking out right now. Da Vinci, or everything that we felt, throughout the age of enlightenment and prior to that, they were all people who believed in God. Majority of
Yeah.
them, majority of them. So, wherever inspiration comes from, or Newton with the apple, or I know that's a myth, but I mean with the apple, but
Sure.
but a
And
Newtonian.
yeah, they all had a faith of a certain level. Galileo had a faith, but at the same time, he wasn't an atheist, in other words, but
Believed in something. I mean, rather than
right.
nothing.
What was his famous words at his own Inquisition trial, which he skirted by without getting put to death? But they were trying to make him prove that the sun was not the center of the universe, or the Earth was the center of the universe.
The heliocentric model.
Yes. Yeah. And what are the famous words he said? And I don't remember the exact context to what he was answering. He recants, and hereunto do I recant, and all of this. He says, nevertheless, it turns. And so he was saying, I think it turns was the words. Nevertheless, it turns. Or in other words, nevertheless, this is how it works. And but I recant. And but nevertheless, that's how it works. Dave Potter says, Uncle Dave says, Darwin was a devout Christian and believed in God. He didn't feel that the theory of relativity went against, or evolution or relativity went against his beliefs.
Einstein was relativity. So
okay.
Yeah,
Einstein was relativity. So I think Dave was he saying that Darwin didn't believe the theory of relativity by Einstein? But that was before Darwin was way before Einstein's time.
This was
so you meant
natural
theory
selection.
of evolution, I think.
Yeah, evolution.
So.
Yeah. But it does completely
nevertheless,
contradict.
It does.
And nevertheless, what you feel and what you think is, and with all due respect, but if I was going to push back on that,
sure,
absolutely, the theory of evolution contradicts what God says, or the theory of creation and all that, because otherwise you'd have to have dinosaurs on the ark. Otherwise you'd have to have all 100,000 species of cockroach on that boat, because you wouldn't believe that a species of cockroach can create itself. Surely something can't come from nothing. We're all God's creation, so forth and so on. But if someone could show you and demonstrate to you how a species can come into existence without a God, from natural processes, I feel like it would contradict that.
Right.
Yeah.
It has to. It has to contradict that, unless you say, there was the creation evolution theory, the day age, the day epoch theory that states that each of the days of creation was an encapsulation of an epoch or an eon of time, and that it wasn't just a 24-hour day. Of course, then you'll have theologians that were in the circles I was in that would say, well, in the Hebrew, it is empirical, that it says the evening and the morning were the first day, the evening and the morning were the second day. So the myth it's telling, or that it's spinning, and by myth I don't necessarily mean that it's all made up in mythology. It was the body
But
of
it
work.
is.
But it is. Nevertheless, it is.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I've been on my
With
I've been on my
with holy books, like you said, there's different perceptions, different
I've,
interpretations. Some may see it as
Sure.
literal or allegorical.
Yeah.
You know,
Is
because
that it?
if you're talking about, when Jesus would give lessons, he always spoke in parables. He didn't say,
Yeah.
just do this. This is what you're supposed to do. This is what I want you to do. There's always room for different interpretations, which sort of one of the reasons that I believe that these types of texts endured, because they're so vague. You can apply them to
Right.
any time in life.
now
Of
let
course,
me.
Relevant here, relevant, in the 1400s.
you look at the kind of myth making we have, though. I look at the book of Genesis sometimes, and I think that there is truth buried in there. But at the same time, I look at, say, take a Native American look at creation, and I say this in maybe more of a comical way to make a point, is that, and Great Spirit took, Great Beaver by the tail and hurled him into the air, and Great Beaver's entrails became the children of the stars, who are also all the tribes and the souls of our fathers, and so on. And, you get mythology like that. But you go to the book of Genesis, and you get, and God saw that the man was lonely, so he put him to sleep and took one of his ribs and formed a woman. And this woman became Eve, the mother of all living. And, you have those same types of mythologies going on that sound like this. It sounds like etiology that's used to help people understand, in ancient times especially, a scientific thing that is unexplainable by their context. So I think we see a lot of that as well.
Yeah, in most creation myths, you see interactions between two different things in two different cultures. Like with Greek culture, you had Gaia and Uranus. In Japanese culture, you had Izanami and Izanagi. In Christian culture, you have Adam and Eve. As in the beginning of the origins. So,
and even in the Lakota Sioux culture, they had. I wrote it in the Rise and Fall of the Nephilim, so I can't think of the names now, but the name of the man and the woman, and that they ascended out of the subterranean caverns of the earth and saw the sun for the first time, and they became the first family, and their children, and Ectome, maybe, I think it is. Ruben corrected me once. Ectome was the spider character that was also the trickster and the deceiver, and he was the one that would lead them astray. He married one of their 5 daughters or something like that, and so it's all this interesting mythology that all has very similar, all smacks is similar, but is all still different, but explaining the same thing. So,
well, let me ask you that. Let me ask you this: are either of you a theist?
A deist?
Theist with a
Oh, a theist?
T.
Not really. I am I would call myself a agnostic Christian. My with a hint of paganism in there. My old seminary buddies would call me a backslidden atheist. So it's all a matter of perspective. So I'm not a theist by definition.
definitely yes. So
You're definitely a theist, right?
yeah.
Is there any particular God, like what particular God or gods do you believe in? Any religion? Any holy book?
Well, when my original base religion is Islam, and I am a practicing Muslim, but even with the names, the God that I believe in it sort of encompasses most of the major religions. It's the God of Abraham, so that includes we believe in Jesus, we believe in Abraham and all the stories. It's not stories. I don't want to say myths, but the tales of what happens in it's the there's a certain type of allegorical history that follows. So I mean most people think, when they think of Islam, God's name is Allah, but I mean, in reality, God has multiple names, and mostly, more than 99 names. You can say the beneficent, every positive.
My favorite is Bob. God's name is Bob.
Only on Sundays, probably.
Only on Sundays.
But the beneficent, all this, any positive adjective is the forgiver, the merciful. It's not just not just Bob. It can be Bob. It can be whatever.
Well, it's like, and I've said several times we talk about these. You've got El for the name of God, El, and you've got El Shaddai, El Elyon,
Yahweh,
Elohim,
yeah,
and you've got all the different variations of that. You've got the angel of the Lord is meant to be a theocracy, not theocracy, a theophany in the Old Testament. That is an appearance of God himself when you hear the angel of the Lord. And Christianity takes that a step further and talks about Christophanies in the Old Testament, appearances of the Son of God, pre-incarnate Son of God, and they call them Christophanies, and in the angel of the Lord, and beings like that are mentioned in the Old Testament. And so,
go ahead.
And what do we say? There was Elohim was used 2,700 plus times in the Old Testament for the name of God, but there were tens and dozens of other names for God as well. So,
and you have to remember that naming conventions, that's a human cultural, and the changes that
right.
Human cultural. We have to put a name on it to identify it. Make
it that's
a thing.
That's that whole burning bush story I talked about, and the burning bush story in the Old Testament, the book of Genesis, is the only place in the Bible you have a Mesopotamian wordplay in the linguistics of the text, because you have Moses. What did Moses say to God? He says, after all the arguing back and forth, I can't go to Egypt. I don't know how to talk. I don't know what to say. I'm slow of speech. And God says, who made man's mouth? I'll send you to Egypt. You're still going to. Moses keeps arguing. Finally, Moses leans in. And if you could read between the lines a little bit, it's like he leans into God and he goes, and whom shall I say sent me? What shall I tell these people? What's your name? In other words, he's saying, what's your name? Whom shall I say sent me? Because what was the belief? There was power in knowing the name of a deity. You had some kind of power you could impose on it in all sorts of world mythologies. And so, who are you? What was your name? So I can tell the people. What is God's response? It's basically, it's none of your goddamn business what my name is.
He said, I am.
He said, I am that I am. And I could see Moses going, the fuck does that mean? But he understood it in his context because he was an educated man. That phrase, I am that I am, is a Mesopotamian wordplay that literally means, when you break down the linguistics of the wordplay, it literally means I am that Enki they speak of. Enki, the god of the Sumerians, one of the Anunnaki. And so, well, why would God use a Sumerian word or wordplay for that, or a Mesopotamian wordplay for that? I think, and we don't know if he's saying, that Enki, that God, I'm really him. He's me, I'm him. Or is God saying, that God Enki? There's no God. I'm God, not Enki. People are familiar with that. So it was a familiar word that was being used, a familiar belief system that was incorporated by those who were of this Canaanite tribe of Israel that were down in Egypt now. This was a familiar belief to them. And so that wordplay was incorporated. You don't get that out of your English Bible. You have to research the linguistics of it. So, yeah, you then have to ask the question.
There's also
when Moses leans in and says, what's your name? Is God going saying, shut up? You don't need to know my name. I'll tell you my name if you need to know it. You just tell the people I am that I am. I am that Enki. You tell them that. And it's like, was God just trying to, fuck with us? Is the way to put it in the vernacular, or was there something to that? I don't know. Don't know for sure.
Yeah. In popular, Christian demonology, there's some sects that emphasize, getting the name of the demon in terms of, gaining control over it, whether it's for expulsion or whatever they intend to do.
Exactly.
The power of names gives you control over something, whether they try to do, if somebody tried to use a summoning ritual or banishment ritual, or try to move through a form of exorcism. Obtaining the name is like obtaining a sense of power over that.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Actually, on a few days ago, it was about a week ago, maybe. My friend believes in demons, and I don't. With all due respect to everyone, and I asked him, "Is there any way that we could test it?" And he said, "Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to. You shouldn't do it. I don't want." And I said, well, "No, let's go. Let's go. Come on, I'm ready." And he told me some things to repeat, which I won't repeat on here. And basically, I guess I welcome this demon to take my soul, and I hope this isn't crazy talk what I'm saying right now,
No.
but okay, so I did it. I was like, yeah, let's do it. I don't believe
you created an invitation. You invited it.
I pretty much. And I was like, how do I do it? And he told me exactly what to repeat, and I did it. And what's funny is that these are things that are unfalsifiable, because he said, well, things are going to start happening that are bad, and if you wonder why, and if it doesn't, then just wait. Yeah, I mean, so it's like, what?
Right.
So be like, anything negative happens from this point forward, somebody will say, "Oh, you invited it in. It's a demon." Because even if you did this ritual or whatever it was, the demonic has been known to go latent, go into a dormancy phase. It's going to wait until you're at your most vulnerable, and then attack. It may be years, it may be days, it may be depending on what is going on, or what is going on in your life. But
we'll never be able to distinguish that from shit happens.
Yep. It's hard to tell.
But I mean, there's that happening versus having that happen for a week straight. You're driven to the point of if you're driven to the point of going insane, that's a different issue. And it's a matter of probability. What you understand, a matter of probabilities. I mean, it's okay, I had a bad day. Okay, I had a bad week. Okay, I had a bad year. Okay, I had a bad 5 years.
Sure.
At what point would you say there's something? Where would your internal, because we all have internal animalistic senses of things are not right, or there's sensation of predatory,
sure,
and all that. Where it depends when that would be triggered and said, okay, something's not right. And then said, well, what's the then you go down the possibilities of what, because anything that we do, it has a butterfly effect to the environment and world around us. People go to school so they could get a good job, and live your life, blah blah blah. So it's cause and effect. And with the demonic can never do anything. It can suggest. There's always the matter of consent. A demon can make you it can tweak you in a way that'll make a person suicidal, but they can't make the person commit suicide. There's always a choice, which a lot of people who undergo not deliverances, but I mean who
exorcism.
No, not exorcism. I'm before that point, and before the when you're in the infestation and oppression phases. But there's always a choice, and it's like we were talking about earlier. Having those blinders on, being unable to see the other side. That things can get better. It can get worse, but it can get better. And when people lose their hope that's when you have those types of events occurring. Because I've seen it. I've heard from other investigators that when they've had dealt with those types of cases, and the
I've
survivors.
had the people that I knew within the church that had conducted
Deliverances.
Exorcisms
Hmm.
and blessings and exorcisms.
Hmm.
I knew some guys in paranormal research. Some of you might remember who these guys are, but Adam Bly
Oh yeah, I'm
is a
familiar.
guy that I know really well. He was a good friend of mine,
Hmm.
and really helped out with some things. Went on some investigations with him. He and John Zaffis used to do a lot of work together, the demonology type of work. And I always say, because I think it lends him a bit of street cred, is that Adam Bly, even though he wasn't a priest, so he said, I can't do exorcisms. He says, I'm not a priest. He was Roman Catholic, and he very much adhered to Roman Catholic theology. He says, I don't have the ability to exorcise because I'm not a priest. He says, but he is also somebody who the Vatican would fly out to lecture their priests on demonology and exorcism. And so he was the guy that told me when we had some stuff that was going on bothering us. This is about 12, 13 years ago. And he zeroed it into a cross that I was wearing. And he said, I think that cross is something you need to get rid of because of the reasons that we came up. It's a long story I'm not going to get into. But so I took that cross. He said, just go find the closest river. He says, throw it off the bridge into the river, the moving water. And so that's what I did. Rainey and we drove down to a bridge crossing a river in Wisconsin. I chucked it in the river. Now, that's a belief system that's all built on. I wasn't sure what I believed about that. But at the time, I trusted the man who seemed to know what he was talking about. And, Adam was a pretty normal guy. He was a pretty cool guy. We used to say about him, he was very deadpan. So, he kind of talked like this a lot and didn't say a lot. He was very monotone. And he's a big guy. He's bald and a young man. And he'd be the kind of guy that would walk into a bar where we were hanging out and he goes, wow, would you look at the rack on that chick? And then the next thing out of his mouth would be, oh, that guy standing with her, he's Satan. His eyes are going to start bleeding. This is the guy he was. He was a normal guy who had these extraordinary beliefs in his theology, within his theology. And I only tell that story to show the contrast. He could be a very funny, witty man and normal guy, and at the same time could just snap right over into, you know what? Satan entered the room. Your eyes are going to bleed. So start saying some prayers with me. So.
And what makes you think he was not correct?
That he was not correct?
Yeah, what makes you think that's wacky or he wasn't correct?
Oh, I don't think it was wacky at all. It was just a
do.
belief system I didn't follow. I was not of Roman Catholic theology. So it was another variation on the Christian faith.
It's an alternative perspective.
An alternative perspective. And so I saw Adam Bly as somebody who he would be like anybody. There are faiths that I don't believe in, but there are very genuine people who do. And does it make the faith not real because I don't think it's real? No. Just like I can't make it real because I believe it's real. And with Adam, I think he was somebody who was convinced in his faith. Now, is that what gave him the power he had to do things? And all I mean by that is the strength he had, the strength of faith he had, the things he was able to do in his prayers and so on. Did he gain that power because he was such a solid believer, a firm believer in one? And that was the basis for his strength.
And at least, I think, at least for you, after you threw that cross into the river, did things change?
It seemed to.
So,
but I will tell you this too. I'm not convinced it wasn't psychological on my part. I'm not convinced that by throwing that in, I go, whew, I have rid myself of demonic influence or whatever it might be. And I did notice some differences.
Yeah.
However, I do still notice some of the same things, even now, these days, that were reasons for my concerns. And that was 12, 13 years ago.
So
So,
is there any, go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Okay, but is there any way to prove it?
No.
Like, I mean, there is no way.
No way to prove it. It's all very highly subjective stuff. It's like now another thing, and people have heard this story, so I'm not going to tell a long story with it. But my wife and I had a horse ranch, and that we were buying from an old cowboy, and there was a point where I believe that fairies exist, the fae exists, and I was told, if you believe that, you should maybe do a blessing on your ranch by making an offering to them. And it wasn't like offer one of my children or anything like that. Here is the still beating heart of my young child. No, it was nothing like that. But it was
Hillary
like,
would run away with them,
yes.
Only a crazy
but
deity would want a blood sacrifice.
Yeah. What deity would want to do that?
Okay, I'm sorry.
I know where you're coming from. I got a whole thing on that.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So all we did, we took 4 plates, paper plates, and we put little containers of milk and some cookies and a couple of coins and some things like that. And we put it out at each of the 4 corners of this 40 acres. And we said, not really prayers, but you could classify them as prayers, This is why we're doing this. It's for those of you who are here. We would,
intentions.
we would crave your blessing. And by blessing, it's as simple as, not only God can bless. I could bless Sarah. And Sarah, I pass you off with a blessing tonight and have a good night's sleep. So on and so forth. So, we did that to see if we could show that, there's a belief here and I'm going to act upon the belief. I always tell my wife, there are things that we say we believe, but then we act in different ways. I said, almost as if we don't believe the things that are coming out of our mouth. I said, so there's many things I have adopted and I've started doing to say, if I say I believe this, I'm going to enact that and I'm going to live what I say I believe.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish your thought.
No, I was just coughing.
Okay. I hear you. I hear both of you. Let me ask you both very simply, and this is a trap, by the way. I want to put my cards on the table.
Sure.
Do either of you, or both of you, or neither of you believe that Jesus died on the cross and resurrected in the flesh? 3 days later.
I can go first on that one. I believe he existed. I believe he was crucified. Whether or not he rose from the dead is subjective because it's an issue of faith. I wasn't there. I didn't see it. All I've got is a bunch of guys that wrote it down and said this happened this way. So I can choose to believe that. I choose to believe that Jesus rose from the dead. But if I say I choose to believe that, then I would have to believe that whole system of theology, because that's the hinge pin of the theology, is the fact that he had a bodily resurrection from the dead, and that the death, it was not just a swoon and he woke up later in the grave and they healed him, got him back.
Right.
But that he actually was dead for 3 days and rose miraculously. If that's the truth, if that is true, who did it? Who was the one that was the giver of the resurrected life? Was it Buddha? No, because Jesus didn't teach anything about Buddha. So you have to look at it and go, if that story is true, then indeed there is a lot of that theology that must be true. But you can't prove that it was true. Supposedly, according to God, one of the most important events ever to take place in human history, this interaction between God, very God, and man, very man. the merging of the two, the God-man Jesus, who died and took was the propitiation and the atonement for our sins, and took it all on himself and did away with it. Yet it seems to conflict with still having a sin nature. Should anybody then be able, by that theology, to go to hell if Jesus paid the price for it? Should anybody be able to earn their own way to heaven if Jesus paid the price himself? It's like, if he did that, and I could still earn my way to heaven by my good deeds or whatever I do, then Jesus' death was ineffectual. It was for nothing if I can earn it. So that's the theology that comes out of it.
Sarah, do you believe that Jesus died on the cross and resurrected in the flesh after 3 days?
Well, I mean, the account, there's several accounts, not just from the Bible, but in the Quran, in the Hebrew, in the Hebrew Bible, there's parallels within that. So for most part, from my logic, they're talking about the same event. If three different sources are saying event happened, then I'm more inclined to believe it rather than just saying it from one source. Now, the nitty gritty, we can argue, up and down on the nitty gritty, on the details. In the Islamic perception of Jesus, we perceive him as a prophet of God. Some may see him as the son of God or is God. So, we can argue that 5 times till Sunday. Yeah, five times till Sunday.
No pun intended.
Right. Oh yeah, Sunday. So, yeah, like, I made my own joke. I didn't even realize it. So
Bada boom.
Divinely inspired. So whether Jesus was resurrected, was it God that resurrected him? Was it Anunnaki aliens that resurrected him? You could think any number of different ways. In my religion, Muhammad went through the Prophet Muhammad, the last prophet, underwent a similar type of resurrection in Mecca. And in Mecca, there's a certain I forgot the exact name of it. There's a rock in there that has his alleged foot, which I'll say alleged, which I don't get lightning strike or anything, but footprints of the point of where he was resurrected up. It's a rock, but it has like deep impressions of feet in it. So, if you want to count that as physical evidence, if you count that as physical evidence, then why wouldn't I believe that it's true?
I want to do something with you guys, and it might take somewhere between 1 minute and 12. It really depends on you guys. And let me just put my cards on the table. Have you guys ever seen the YouTube channel Pine Creek?
No, I haven't seen it.
All right. Anyway, he's a popular atheist. He's probably got like 17,000 subs, whatever. Doesn't matter. Well, this is something I learned from him, so I didn't want to take credit for it. And it is a thought experiment. It's not true. It's sort of kind of a hypothetical. And finally, I would say that I am trying to get you to doubt.
Okay.
I'm just putting my, and if that's okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Here's what I would say. My ancestor, my great grandfather, ancestor, whatever, he flew. He had the ability to fly. And he was a human, and he actually flew across the Grand Canyon. Well, not with like wings or a parachute or a machine, unaided. Like he flew as a man. And right now, and I know you have a lot of questions and thoughts and ideas, but right now I would ask both of you, yes or no, do you believe that's true? What I just told you about my ancestor. Did that really happen?
If it's a hypothetical, of course, take that context out. If you're telling me this story, would I believe it's true? I'd say, well, since humans are not equipped to fly, biologically, physically, I'd say it was no, it was impossible. But at the same time, could there have been aid in that gives him the ability to do that? Yeah. So my immediate answer would be it all depends on how he got the ability to fly.
So what would you say, Sarah? Yes or no? Do you believe about what I just told you about my ancestry?
I would say it's possible because if you believe, no, because I've studied, my my degree is actually in biology,
Okay.
so I've taken most of all the courses with and all that. So the ability to fly,
Mhm.
if you go back far enough, we can kind of I don't know if you're familiar with phylogenetic. I can't even say the word.
Easy for you to say.
Phylogenetic trees. So if I can modify the example and said, okay, we came from the ocean instead of saying a flight. So we
This
have
this was 1,000 years ago.
it doesn't matter. The
Oh,
time doesn't matter.
okay.
Okay. So we were given we have remnants of evolution, based on our environment, our bodies. They evolved due to the nature of the environment for us to adapt and exist, and all that through mutations. All right. We as human beings, in our necks, we have remnants of what we used to call pharyngeal gill slits.
Sure.
So pharyngeal gill slits is suggestive that we were at one point underwater.
Sure. I
So
get all that.
where we
I get
mer
all that.
yeah, where we mer people. So
Uh,
if you're saying that your great ancestor, however many generations back, had the ability to fly,
yes.
is there evidence that supports that, or have we evolved to the point where we've lost that ability? I mean, if we compare it to, let's say, a bird, birds have hollow bones. Our bones, they're filled with marrow. Could marrow have been a later introduction through
Sarah.
mutations?
Sarah.
Mhm.
This was 1,000 years ago. He's a human. I told you he's human. Do you believe he could fly across the Grand Canyon? Which, by the way, that's what he did. He flew across the Grand Canyon and came back. Do you believe me?
And Sarah, by the way, I
Mhm.
think you're making Professor Bauer proud tonight with that answer.
It's very
You
simple.
mean
There's no
I'm taking
context
too
for you,
long?
Sarah.
It's very simple. Do you believe my ancestor flew across the Grand Canyon or no? Based off of
Under
what
his
I'm
own
told.
power.
Yes, absolutely.
But it depends on your definition of what is human. Are you the same as him? Right? I mean, you're saying you're his ancestor. So as you're defining yourself as a human being, are you saying you are the same as what he was?
Let me tell you that.
Even though there has to be some biological mutation, genetic diversity, whatever of evolutionary phase, whether it's a year or 10,000 years, the timing will be irrelevant. I mean, look how quickly COVID mutated. Look how quickly COVID mutated. I mean,
it's a virus as opposed to a
matter of
species.
months. I mean, that's.
Damn.
I mean, with this audience, that may be considered controversial.
All right. Hey, look. Wow, I didn't know it was going to be this difficult to say that a human couldn't fly 1,000 years ago.
I'm saying it's possible.
I see where she's coming from. If it's Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say, my basic answer is no, he couldn't do it unless he was imbued with some power to be able to do it. So there's a broader story there. If he actually flew across the Grand Canyon, the question would be, how did he do it? Under what power did he do that? Was he, Kal-El from?
And we'll get there.
And so.
And we'll get there. But I just told you about my ancestor 1,000 years ago. Grand Canyon, flew by himself. No machines, no parachute, nothing like that. 1,000 years ago. Do you believe it? Like, let's just I'm not trying to be rude, but
sure. I tend to not believe any story I hear at face value.
I heard
I
you
want
say
to know
no.
more about it.
I heard you
So
say no.
if we
I'm
were
the
just
gullible
drinking a pint at the bar, I go, yeah, man, that sounds plausible to me. Oh, there you go. Little Tennessee.
I drank a
whiskey.
pint. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, look. All right, man. This is kind of getting. I don't know. It's difficult. I'm going to put words in both of your mouths, and I'm going to say that neither one of you believe that my human ancestor flew across the Grand Canyon 1,000 years
That
ago.
would be correct.
I know
Without
for
some
you, but she
imbuement.
seems on the fence. Is that
No.
is that fair?
Yeah. I'll take that for argument's sake. I'll take the other side.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. But that's fair because I've had some. Well, we'll come to that. So let's say you don't believe it, and now I'm going to tell. So first, I told you that it happened. You didn't believe it. Now I'm going to tell you that actually there was 500 people who witnessed it, and even after that. And this all came out 20 years after it happened. There was some sort of like creed that said that it happened. It said that it happened in front of 500, and then in front of 12, and then in front of the author of this text. So I told you it happened. I told you about the creed that came 20 years later. Now I'm asking yes or no. Do you believe it?
I believe that it was an event recorded. Now, okay.
Do you believe that it was true?
I cannot, any event like that, I cannot say I believe that. I did that with the church and with biblical teachings, and I said, I believe that because somebody told me it was so. But what I ended up doing is I started saying, I can't believe it just on the basis of something somebody wrote down in a book. I need a little more information than that. Faith is that what did the Apostle Paul say in the New Testament? It's the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And I'm like, I want to see it. Just show me that it exists. Don't just tell me it exists. Don't give me a book and a story and say, see, this is what happened. My great grandfather flew across the Grand Canyon and 500 people witnessed it. I go like, hey, that's great, Sterling. I wasn't there. I didn't see it. I need what I do believe about it. Is it a true story? Yeah, probably a true story. Is it a true event? Did it actually happen? Maybe there is a different explanation for it, because in the context that we exist as humans can't fly. So there has to be something supernatural that's part of it.
But you didn't answer whether or not you believe that it actually happened. If I'm holding your feet to the fire and being, an
I believe
asshole,
the story is true. I don't believe he actually flew across the Grand Canyon as just a plain old human being.
Sarah, do you believe that happened?
Well, I mean, I tend to be naive and to take whatever people say at face value until proven otherwise.
So, no. Shame on you.
Well, I mean,
no, shame
people could
on
say
you.
Whatever. You can be lying about it. You could not be lying about it. But either way, I'm not going to be bothered about it.
No, hold on. That's not what you said, though. Because you said that.
I'm sticking to my original point that if I'm assuming that what you're saying is the truth, then yes, I do believe he did it.
Why would you assume that, though? I'm asking, do you assume that? And do you believe it happened based off of me telling you and the creed that I told you came out 20 years afterwards? Do you believe that it's true and that
I
it
don't
actually
understand the
happened?
question.
I'll try to rephrase it. First, I claimed that it happened, and I put words in your mouth, and you said that you didn't believe it. And then I hit you with a claim that creed came out 20 years after it happened, and this creed said that it happened in front of 500, in front of 12, in front of the author of this creed. And now I'm asking you, based off of that creed that I just told you about, do you believe it happened?
Well, I mean, I said initially that I believed it happened, and then I took that it didn't believe in it happened under argument's sake. So you're working off of me saying that I don't believe it happened, right?
No, I'm just asking you, do you or do you not believe it happened?
Yeah, I mean, I think originally I said yes, I believed it.
Okay,
So,
All right, but
yeah.
okay, so I told you that it happened. You didn't believe it. I told you about the creed that came out, and then you said you do believe it. Is that fair or no? I'm not trying to trick you.
I don't. I'm having trouble understanding because I thought I said originally yes, and somewhere we got switched around, and you
Okay, so
you
you
said
believed
no
it. You believed it
before.
off the jump. You believed it off the jump when I told you that it
Yes,
happened. You
yes,
believed it off the. Okay, all right, fair.
And see, and I'm the kind of person where I've gotten to the place where I would question anything that's presented to me like that. I would say I don't either believe or non-believe it because I have no proof either way. I have no documentation. I have no data on which to make a believing decision. I
But
think
that's what's.
believing decisions should be made by um, people who have the ability, the cognitive awareness to weigh out the facts and decide what they're going to believe. It's like just as a way of an example, in the Baptist Church, we did not believe in infant baptism, which the Catholic Church did. And I said, and people would ask me, well, why don't you believe? Why shouldn't you get your children baptized? And I said, well, look here in the book of, I think it was James that said, um, baptism does not put away the filth of the sinful nature of the flesh, but it is an answer of a good conscience toward God. It was a symbol of doing something that showed you were identifying with the faith. There ain't no 7-day-old child that can make a cognitive decision like that.
right.
Is there not?
Therefore, I would say baptism, biblically speaking, had nothing to do with babies. It had to do with identifying who you were in the faith.
Yeah.
And now a parent can do that if they want. I'm not going to condemn them for it, but I don't think it's the same thing. So
We have a
anyway,
similar thing in Islam because once you reach a certain point that
yeah,
you make a form of declaration that you're on
yeah.
God's side. You read that, you start reading the
Hey,
Quran and all that. But I mean,
I will address one thing in the chat room. Colin said, drop the call. This is nonsense. Colin, I don't do that. I think that there are good things that come out of calls like this, that come out of discussions like this. This is the way we all talk when we're sitting around a bar or a campfire and we throw out things. We say, okay, well, what do you believe about this? What do you believe about that? How do you come to that conclusion?
Yeah.
I appreciate Sterling coming on board, and some of you might think he wasted our time. No, I don't think so. If you're open-minded enough, you walked away from this conversation with something. Anybody listening to it, and so it's got its efficacy in its right place. And I think this show, the Captain's Cabin After Hours, the after show of the Intrepid radio program, is a great place to throw out stuff like this and talk about it.
Hey man, Scotty.
So there it is.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
I
you're
felt
welcome.
that's kind of what you want from a host when you come on blind and you kind of like open up and you speak your mind and you're not really in for any sinister motivations. That's what you want to hear. So I appreciate that. At the same time, I can defend myself and I totally understand like well, first of all, I don't know anything about your channel, so I may have come out of left field and everybody's like, yo,
Sure.
what the? I get it. I get that too. And so I just appreciate you and Sarah. Let me just
Sure.
spit.
Well, I'll
off
tell
the
you
top.
this. If you've got spare time, we've got almost 800 shows archived here on the YouTube page. So you can just go through and take a look and you'll get an idea.
Find the topic, and don't be surprised if some of the topics don't match what he says during the show.
Thank you.
Are
Thank
you
Sarah.
wait a second, Sarah? Are you saying that he's not congruent? He's not consistent in his beliefs?
Yes.
Yeah, is that what you're saying?
She said yes. She said
Yeah, I want to know,
yes.
Sarah.
She answered very easy. She said yes. I love that. I love that.
Well,
I
Sterling,
think
I hope that you do come back by during
Yeah, come on by again.
during the show. I mean, during the show,
Oh.
both here and in the chat room, because we always have good conversations in the chat room.
Was this one of them?
This is the YouTube channel. We do audio over on the radio station, which is subspace.radio. That's a 1-hour show, and then we launch into this afterwards. So it's on my YouTube channel. It's on my Facebook page, several Facebook pages that we run it through. So it's out there. And
Well, thank you.
so you're welcome back.
Am I getting the boot? Should I hop off? It sounds like
No,
I'm not
we're
yet.
actually
Sterling,
19 minutes past. We're actually 19 minutes past when we normally sign off.
Oh, well,
So
thank you so much
that
for
was
taking
for
the time.
you. That was to
Thank you
give
so much. Cheers, Sarah,
I
and
believe-
cheers, Scotty.
I appreciate your polite presentation, and
Well,
anybody's welcome to do this on the show. And if it's
next time,
catches
I'm
my
gonna
interest
be.
and we can talk.
Oh yeah, come ready. All right, come.
Next time, this is how I draw you in. Like I was polite and sincere, and next time I'm gonna just be
There
such
it
a
is.
jerk.
There's the
Bring
truth.
it on. All right, let's go.
So
Good
yeah,
night,
we
guys.
air. We're just moving from 5 nights a week to 3 nights a week. So we air Monday,
Yeah, I know
Wednesday,
nothing
Friday.
about your.
Monday,
I know
Wednesday,
nothing about
Friday. Monday,
Y'all
Wednesday,
say-
Friday at
you
10
say
o'clock
we.
EST.
Me. We in the royal pontificating sense. We are so pleased you came to hear us tonight. So yeah, you can go to intrepidradio.com.
Mhm.
That'll give you a little bit of information about the show. And of course, rifle through some of the topics. This is not only for your benefit, but everybody else who's out there listening. We've done shows on primarily what I say this show is about is it's about history, it's about archaeology, it's about ancient religion, it's about
Paranormal.
deciphering religion. It's about what'd you say, Sarah?
Paranormal.
Deciphering
Paranormal.
religion, she said.
The unknown, world mysteries, all that kind of stuff, all in one big grab bag.
Well, what I'll leave you with is a joke, and it goes like this. One of my favorite shows as a child was Unsolved Mysteries, right? Y'all
Oh,
watched that?
Robert,
I've been
the trench coat. Yeah.
Robert Stack. Wasn't
Yeah.
that his name? Oh, I just got scared. Well, and they had a new season. Did y'all watch that?
I have not seen
The
it
one on
since they did
Netflix.
without
I've
Robert
watched
Stack.
some of it, but most of it's been more like about crime and rather than paranormal, and like once in a while. But they said that the next season is supposed to be more paranormal, aliens and stuff. But it's been mostly missing people.
Sure.
Unsolved Mysteries. Is there any other kind?
Well, when something's
Solved
a mystery,
mystery.
it's generally
Solved
misunderstood.
mysteries. It's the mysteries that were solved.
I'd push back on that. Like once a mystery is solved, it's no longer a mystery.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's
No,
it.
but even on Unsolved Mysteries, they would give updates.
Updates,
Yeah.
and it's no longer a mystery. It's updated
like-
to.
Even we did a show on this once before. Even the issue of Robin Hood, it was a mystery in history for years. Now they're pretty darn sure they know exactly who it was, and it takes away the mystery of it. So there it is. Sterling, thank you for being on the show tonight. I appreciate
Great
your
to
time,
talk to
brother.
you.
Both of you.
Thanks
Have a
for
good
coming
night.
on. We'll do it again
Cheers.
sometime. See you later. All right, folks.
Scotty,
we're
before we leave, I wanted to ask you: are you ever going to put out any Intrepid merch?
I've got Intrepid merch.
Where is it?
It's down in the little scroll bar there. We've got the Etsy.com/sonofapatriot.
Okay.
If you go there, there's coffee mugs and there's t-shirts and there's hoodies and tank tops and stuff like that. I might do some other kinds of merch now that you mention it. But you can get Intrepid mugs, coffee mugs. I had mine for a long time until I broke it.
Is it the big mugs or like the regular size mugs?
They were the big. You have 12 ounce, and we had, was it 12 ounce and 16? They were the taller ceramic coffee mugs. As a matter of fact, if you look at this link, hang on a second. Let's see, Etsy, Son of a Patriot Etsy. Here we go. Let's get in here. And here you go. Hang on there, Sarah, for just a minute.
Sure.
You've opened up a door here. Can of worms.
Can of worms.
I'm going to share my screen one last time. Share screen. Bang a boom. Boom. And we're going to go over here. Etsy. So here's my Etsy page. And there's my Son of a Patriot page. And it's got, here's the Intrepid swag, if you will. The Intrepid hoodie. The Intrepid t-shirt looks like That close up. That's the original logo for Intrepid magazine back 12 years ago.
Are you gonna put some out with the new ones that you have now? The one with the Indiana Jones hat?
The Indiana Jones hat.
The intro, the image that you use for the intro.
Oh, yeah. Hang on, I'll show you. Well, there's the coffee mug, by the way.
Oh, that's really pretty.
So it's a nice mug.
Mhm.
Yeah, this one. You're talking about this one right here, perhaps. That image?
No.
The
one you use for the intro now.
Oh, I haven't done anything with that.
Yeah.
I can, though. Some people would look at that and go, wow, you're pretty vain, aren't you? Putting out coffee mugs with your face on it. Yeah, well, yeah, I am. So there, we'll put that to bed right there. All of this stuff, I could put a shirt together with that on it. I think that's not a bad
one
idea.
just for the Intrepids. I mean,
Yep.
everybody get T-shirts. That's free advertising. You said, "Oh, what's that? That's Intrepid
yeah.
radio show."
We could probably make that work out. So there's all the shirts that are up. Some of them drop off after a while, but you got to re-up them. But there you go. Yeah, that's that shop, and that's look, there's Leslie Holker. She's bought, I think, one of everything we have. So just about. So and she's got that one. She's got the Celtic Pride one, and several others. There's the coffee mug again. So there you are.
When is the anniversary? How many shows has it been now? You said
let's see. I
right?
believe I started at Odyssey Radio under Russ Hesledge back in August of 2019. But I'd been doing Intrepid Radio long before that. Intrepid Radio started after we were doing Intrepid magazine,
right?
Which was January of 2011. And then Intrepid Radio started shortly after that. John Ward and I did it together for 3.5 years. And I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
So
it's 11 years.
11 years for Intrepid Radio, almost 12.
I wonder how many episodes that is. But over maybe on the count on YouTube. But
and right now, if you look at my my YouTube page, which is really easy to get to. Let's see. Hold on. If I show you, and everybody sees it for 1 minute or another. There you go. You see, it's still showing the live show. For some reason, my intro video is gone. Don't know why. But here you go. If you take a look at this right here, that first row right there, that's Intrepid Radio broadcasts. Then we were doing Just a Lousy Cup of Coffee for a while in the mornings. A year ago, I may pick that up again if I'm not going to do 5 nights of radio a week. Then we got the series on King David. I actually did that before we relaunched Intrepid Radio. This is 3 years ago. Then a bunch of little commentary videos, and read the books, the Tam O'Hare book, the book on the rise and fall of the Nephilim, and all the different books that I have out. I've read them all. And and then there's other stuff. But if you take a look at this, if I hit all episodes, you can see right about, where does it say? It says the number of episodes that I have.
Usually it does.
I don't see it right there. It might be play all. Let's find out. Nope, it's not that either. It usually says how many episodes. About 3 weeks ago, it said 775, I think.
Oh, okay. So you're getting close to 800.
Close to 800. Yeah, that's
to do
the
something
only point I was
special when you
making.
hit the 800 mark.
What happens at 800?
You should do something special for the 800 mark.
I should. Our 800th episode. So, Intrepeds, Dave Potter says. Exactly.
And something really special when you hit 1,000.
Yeah.
It'll probably be, 2 years? 2 years?
Yes.
So,
yeah. that's where we've been. I don't know how many more years it'll take me to do 300 more episodes, but basically, if I did 3 days a week, you can do the math and say, oh, you'll have 300 episodes by 2 more years or something. I don't know. So we'll see. And
Okay.
so there it is. That's all I got. There is some merch. I'll maybe do something new with the new image, and we'll take it from there. Maybe even do a captain's cabin. But who's going to be drinking coffee this late at night? Well, I almost made coffee for tonight. That used to be a thing too. We'd have coffee in the morning and early afternoon, and then we'd be done for a while. Then late at night, we'd make some coffee and do radio.
It's because of the withdrawal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, Sarah, you have a good night. I'll
right,
see you,
thanks,
no
Scotty.
doubt, on Sunday morning. If not,
Probably not,
next
but
Monday.
I'll try.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll
Monday.
see you later.
Okay.
All right, guys, that's it. That's all I got. And I wish I could talk all night. I could. If this was my job, that's what I'd do. I'd talk all night. I do a midnight to 5 a.m. show or a midnight to 4 a.m. show. And that's just what we do. That would be my life. But that ain't it right now. So perhaps I could manifest that. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your appreciation of the show. And I appreciate the fact that I hit that by accident. So I'm going to give you a little treat with we'll do an It's Sunday, the It's Sunday opener with Rainey and me, my beautiful wife and I, and then we'll be out on the captain's cabin. So you all have a good night, and you know what? Live long and prosper. Well, maybe not. I hit the wrong button again. I hit the blank button. Live long and prosper.